Hello and welcome to another episode of Adventures in .NET. I'm Sean Klaber, your host, and with me today, your other co-host, Mark Miller. Hey, Mark.
How you doing, Sean?
Hey.
You good?
Are you Peter, the Beta Brunch? Since I'm Greg, I'm above you on our screen. For those who can actually see us,
Son of a. Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't know if I'm Peter or not, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay.
I know you didn't ask. Nobody really cares. But
What's exciting in your life lately?
me? I don't know. We got the Code Rush release out. I'm feeling good about that. That's with the new voice to code.
I thought it was coming out next month.
No, it was
May the 4th.
No, it was March 4th. It came out March 4th.
Star Wars Day. I thought it was.
Yeah, maybe I messed up if I said Star Wars Day. I don't know. It may have been me. But yeah, we got that out, and so that's always a good relief. Big relief when you get some major stuff out. Yeah, no, I'm just. It's interesting because our guest today is one of the links that we got to prep for our guest is an algorithms page, and he seems to be focused on algorithms and best practices, things like that. And it's something I've been thinking about with this particular stuff I've been doing because it's kind of represented a brand new challenge, right? I've got 10,000 or 60,000 different possible combinations of interpretations of what you said. How do I get it all to fit in very quickly into something that fits expectations of code, and so that's kind of been on my mind. I'm sure there's ways that I can make it even better, even faster, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I am. I'm in that kind of lull after a whole bunch of hard work and just before things pick up again.
So we mentioned Star Wars Day. Did you do anything for Pi Day yesterday?
Pie Day, we didn't really. So I'm on ketogenic diet, so I can't really eat pie. Everybody else is like, let's eat some pie. But, I'm just like, okay, you guys go do your pie. And, that idea fizzled out. So no, I don't think we really did anything for Pie Day. No. I'll tell you though, there's, I live in Valencia, Spain, and there's a celebration here called Las Fallas where they have artists build giant sculptures. They're temporary sculptures that are very flammable, and they're up for about 3 or 4 days, and they're just putting them up now. They're gorgeous, gorgeous, like giant, kind of like almost caricatures, kind of a lot of weird kind of, shapes and designs, beautiful colors. It's all going up around the city of Valencia. Absolutely gorgeous. It's Fallas, I think, if you want to look it up and look at some of these. Really, really gorgeous. And then they burn it all down. They burn them all down except for the one that wins. And so all the communities put money together to finance these. And so you've got these mini communities within the city of Valencia, and they're essentially all in a competition. And so one gets to stay there, and the others all burn, I think. So
very cool. Have you ever participated in the running of the bulls?
Nope. I don't. I do my dangerous stuff kind of like yeah. I do it in different places.
Yeah, behind the keyboard.
Well, yeah, and I bike in semi-dangerous ways. Today I was like trying to pass a bus and it kept honking at me. It honked at me like 3 times before I was like, fine, I won't pass you. I understand it's a blind corner and you're going around and you're going to swerve over into the other lane. I get all of that. I'm doing my math. But anyway, I backed off.
All right. Well, let's bring out our guest for today and see what he has to say about algorithms that you are so interested in. So let's welcome Andrii Siriak.
Hello. Nice to meet you all. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How you got into development, what you do now, and what kind of interests you have with software.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I'm a software developer, primarily working in .NET from Ukraine, Dnipro. It's a central part of Ukraine. And at this point, I have more than 6 years of experience working with different technologies. But the thing that comes up over and over is algorithms, and they don't really age. they don't lose their relevance, and that's why I was interested in them since like I was studying at university, and that's when I really went into it, found some interesting places online with collections of algorithms, and got involved with it.
So did you get into .NET through university, or some other reason that got you into .NET?
Yeah, it was through university, and I would say even before that.
Okay. What kind of things do you typically create? Are you a web developer? Are you back end, cloud? What kind of things you do?
Yeah, currently I work as a lead .NET developer. My main focus is web services. So this is web development, backend part of it. And I mostly work with Microsoft stack, that is Azure Cloud, all Microsoft libraries and frameworks.
Okay. So with algorithms, what really kind of piqued your interest into really doing a lot of research along that line?
I guess I just like tinkering with computers, writing stuff that's fun for me, and algorithms are a particularly interesting place for that, because there are just so many of that you can never get enough, and there is always something that you can learn new, even if you're a seasoned developer.
Yeah,
But, at the same time, it's what people usually start with, right? So it's not like we first become like senior developers and then learn algorithms, right? It's one of the first things we learn.
Yeah, I was at the, I was taking a look at the C# repository, the algorithms, and then some of the other links that we got, which I'm sure we'll put down in the description as well. And I was looking at it, and as I was reading through it, I was like, oh no, look what they've done. They've put down the complete path for AI to go scoop up all of our secret algorithms and then take over. Everything is laid out. It even says in the README, it says, this repository is a collection of a variety of algorithms implemented in C#. Oh my God, AI is going to eat this up so fast and come out, and our jobs are going to be gone. Thanks a lot, Andrii. Thanks a lot. I don't know. The rest of the show should just be about, how do I get a new job now? What am I going to do? Like serve food? I can't do that.
Well, I think AI already does that better than you can.
Oh my goodness.
This niche is already taken.
So there's all sorts of different types of algorithms. Why don't you kind of familiarize us and the listeners with the different classes and types of algorithms that you've put together?
Yeah, sure. So one of the key classes of algorithms are searches, sorts, string algorithms, like searches in a string for a pattern. And also there are techniques like dynamic programming, for example. And what's interesting here is that at first glance, this project, the algorithms, it seems like it's about algorithms, right? And data structures. But what I wanted to tell you is that, in fact, it's not about that. It's not its main focus. So the main focus is that we help new developers who are maybe only studying at universities get interested in open source development and get familiar with proper way to write C#, proper way to use GitHub Actions, for example, how to use GitHub to open pull requests and so on. So this is also one of key points of this project.
Andrii, one of the things that I have always found kind of interesting when you go in and study algorithms is that often when you're striving to solve performance and perhaps even memory, so you want to not impact memory and you want to have a really fast answer, that you start pushing the edges of readability. You start getting into some I don't know, designs or of the code or things that are hard to really understand what's happening at first glance. Do you have like any kind of reaction to that statement? Do you believe that's true? Do you have a similar experience?
Yeah.
And what, I guess then what can we do to make it more readable? Is it commenting? Is that what we do? Is it the option just, well, you know what, I want more readable code, so I'll forego the speed and I'll go with something that I can read. Is there, like, do you have any kind of thoughts on that decision making process?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a totally valid question that we, as maintainers of these projects, have to face with over and over again. Because as you can imagine, people have very different experience. Some people are very seasoned professionals who know how to write the best code and the most performant code. Others are just starting, and maybe C# is their first language. And so they produce very different code as a result. And what we do actually here is that, well, I see this as two extremes, right? One extreme is when you have a totally optimized, the most performant code with 0 allocations. And the other extreme is when you have like almost a pseudocode from a textbook that does the thing, but that's very inefficient, that contains a lot of allocations in memory, for example, that just uses excessive CPU cycles to assign and reassign variables and so on. And so we have to find balance here. And for this project, it doesn't try to be, a library that you could use to use one of the algorithms in your project, even though you totally can do that. But we don't provide a NuGet package or anything like that. It aims to help people learn algorithms, and so readability is our main focus. So we prefer readability and clearance of intention, so what this algorithm tries to do, over its performance.
And so,
At the same time, we are trying to use like all the C# best practices and so on.
so do you guys get pull requests from brand new developers? Are you, how open is this with regards to development?
Yeah, that's also one of our, I would say, key features of this project is that we are open to really green developers who are only starting. Because, for example, if you just think of an open source project, could you just name a few, famous open source projects?
Oh, you're asking me to name a few
Yeah.
open source projects?
Just off the top of your head.
Yeah, what? I don't know. I'm going to say I don't know any. The only ones I know are mine, which aren't famous at all.
Automapper.
John saved me with Automapper.
Yeah, well, I would name like Linux kernel, Android, Kubernetes, right? They are all open source projects. But if somebody, like a university student, wants to, understand what open source is about, they just can't start and submit a pull request there because it's very complicated. It runs in production in like many companies, and
Right.
The threshold to enter it is just way too high.
Right.
And so we offer this place where people can come. We are very inclusive about that. They can submit a contribution or ask questions in our Discord, and then they will get this, as if it's a demo experience of open source. So they will have this automated checks, CI builds. They will have linters. We have codices set up to check for problems and so on. They will get it reviewed, and they will have to incorporate feedback in their pull requests. And it will be only merged when it's done, when it's complete, when it's high quality. And so this really prepares them for working with a real project. So they will not be daunted by, how do I open a pull request, or should I open an issue, or just submit a pull request, or what are all these checks on a pull request mean. They will be ready for that, and they then can focus on the code itself of these features that they are doing.
Yeah, that's nice. Kind of a nice way to get in.
So it seems like not only is algorithms and open source is important to you, but also education, because I think that's kind of your driving thing here is to educate people on both of these things, public, open source, and algorithms, things like that. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, algorithms, they don't age, and all the well, not all of them, but most of the algorithms that we use, they were invented a long time ago. And so there are already plenty of textbooks written about them, and there are already a lot of libraries written in C++ that do it way faster than I can. So we are not trying to compete with them. We are trying to educate people, work with students, and give a reference if somebody wants to look up an implementation of an algorithm to see how it works. Then they can use our website, thealgorithms.com, to do that. There are implementations in many languages, not only in C#.
So do you have the algorithm that'll give me the winning lottery numbers?
Well, I guess you could submit a pull request, right, to implement this one for everybody.
All right.
Not yet.
Yeah. Bummer. So, of the algorithms you've kind of gone through, what give us a couple of the most important ones and maybe the most ones that you like the most, and tell us about them.
Well, I think I won't talk about trivial like sorting algorithms because it's what everybody does. It's very popular. I would say more about dynamic programming. It's not like an algorithm by itself, but it's a technique. And because of that, it's particularly challenging to show it to people. Because if we are talking about like bubble sort, for example, or binary search, we can just implement it and it's here, it's done. But for dynamic programming, it's a technique. And so there are a lot of applications of this technique. It can apply to different problems. And this makes it challenging because if we apply this technique to one problem, people might not understand how to apply it to a different problem. So that's why we often get many implementations with problems from websites like LeetCode, for example, that apply dynamic programming to a new problem. And well, in short, it's a technique to get an optimal answer to a problem using only linear time rather than doing full search on all possible, combinations of paths.
So it gets you like close to the good answer. Is that right?
Yeah.
In a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. It seems like you're almost approaching, like when you're talking about the dynamic programming, it seems like you're almost approaching design patterns a little bit, right? And that design patterns have the same kind of characteristics. Is that I could show you how to do a design pattern maybe for one specific example, and I could show you a different example, and that might also be useful to you, right? Do you guys in the organization of the algorithms? Do you guys consider design patterns? Are you thinking about incorporating them, or are you like, you know what, we're gonna draw a line between, very focused solution-based kinds of algorithms as opposed to architectural-based algorithms?
That's a good question. Yeah, so we are not trying to move into the patterns space because this would dilute our focus, and then we would just become, just a pile of everything, like a pile of object-oriented design patterns, of architectural styles, of algorithms, data structures, of, I don't know, AI models. So, you can't be everything. You need to be really good at something, at one thing.
Okay.
And well, one more interesting point that I can tell you about is how it works, this process internally. because on the surface it just seems like a collection of algorithms, right? But we really have to think carefully about what to include and what not to include, because there are an infinite number of algorithms. So we are trying to include the most popular ones and maybe some variations, but not too many. So for example, we can have a naive approach to solving a problem, and we can have one more optimized approach, which is more obscure, more difficult to read, but which is closer to what would happen in real life.
So there's kind of an editing, kind of a curating of maybe the pull requests or of the suggestions for what to include. So you're
Yeah.
rejecting, that means you're rejecting. So if I'm like a student and I've got, my own algorithm for something, it's probably not going to get included in here because it's not well known enough, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're totally right. So we only include things that we can find the reference for, like maybe a Wikipedia article or it's mentioned in some textbook, because as you said, we can't really include everything, otherwise it will be just unsearchable and people will just be scared away from it.
Okay.
Yeah, and every time it's really I'll speak frankly, it's a really difficult decision for me every time, because I see that this person has made really an effort. They are trying to add value, but at the same time, I understand that I can't really merge this because we already, for example, it's very evident with dynamic programming. We probably have around 10, maybe more than 10 examples of dynamic programming. So that's why we are trying not to include them anymore, because they are all similar, more or less.
So how frequently do you add a new algorithm? What are you adding them, like once a month or once a week, once a day, once a year?
Well, it's very because our core audience are university students or people just starting, learning programming. This is a highly seasonal work for us. So because sometimes they have exams and they don't submit pull requests at all, like nobody, because they're preparing for exams or are passing them. Sometimes maybe there is, summer holidays and so on. But other times they are starting a semester and they are starting attending these algorithms classes, and they are all at once starting submitting pull requests. So it really depends. Sometimes we get like a couple of algorithms a day, and sometimes we don't get any for a week or two.
So you get a couple algorithms, you look at them, you do the research, you're looking for an article to support it if you haven't heard it or seen of it, or you haven't heard of it before. And then you basically allow it or not, right? You bring it in or say no.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're also trying to educate people. We have, for example, code of conduct and other like documentation that says what to do, that you first should open an issue to discuss what you want to do. Say, for example, that I want to add a bubble sort algorithm. And then a maintainer will come and say that, oh, thank you for submitting that, but it's already present. It's in like source/bubble sort. So you won't, waste your time opening things that will be closed anyway.
That's too bad,
And
because bubble sorts
yeah,
felt like the only algorithm I could say off the top of my head without having to look it up.
yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Oh no.
Yeah, thanks.
That might be true for me too as well though. I might say I might join Sean in that. I know bubble sort. I got that one.
And,
So I'm working on a new bubble sort. You're not going to let me bring that in? It's a brand new kind of bubble. It's kind of a sinking bubble sort is the way I describe it. We can't get that into the project? No!
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. And, yeah, unfortunately, really, it's the reality that we have, because every year, freshmen, they start learning from scratch, and they go through all this, bubble sort and things that we already implemented before them. And yeah, that's not an ability for everyone to contribute.
Andrei, I'm looking through the source code here on the algorithm C# repository, and one of the things I'm loving are the test cases that you have for all of these algorithms. I'm like really, really loving it. I think that it's one thing to say, here, I'm going to provide you with the algorithm, but I think it's totally different to say I'm also providing you with unit test cases for the algorithms as well. Right?
Yeah,
I think that's very cool.
Yeah, actually, they function as documentation, right? Because, for example, if you do test-driven development, then we would write test cases first, and then like the algorithm or function itself. And here is the same thing, that we require that all the code should be covered sufficiently by test cases to make sure, well, first of all, that it works, because I don't know everything. Really, sometimes I'm just looking at test cases and hoping that it works, and I'm trying to do my best, but there is no person who knows everything or can check, that code is totally valid. So that's one thing, that it helps maintainers, and another thing is that it helps people who come. They can look at them and they can, debug test cases to see how it works. That's what makes this project different from textbooks, that it's not implemented in pseudocode that's just printed, that it's a living thing. You can launch it and you can step through it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So is this repository mainly used for reference purposes, or can somebody go in there and start learning about algorithms in general, and how they work and how to write them, how to come up with them themselves?
I think it depends on the person, what you prefer. So speaking from myself, I prefer a more structured approach. I would pick up a textbook and read it, and when I get to pseudocode, okay, it's like abstract, it's not specifically some language, but I'm a C# developer and I'm used to thinking in C#. So that's the point where I would open the algorithms reference implementation and see what it looks like in C#.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think I want to underscore out. I think the cool thing about these test cases that's different from reading a textbook is it's kind of like a black box, right? If you don't know how the algorithm works, but you can see how the algorithm is being pushed and poked from the outside, in other words, the test cases, you can start to see what kinds of things that people were thinking about that were considered the constraints of the box that contains the algorithm. Right? I think it's something that goes beyond. I think there's value here in these test cases that goes beyond what you would find in a normal textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we are talking about edge cases that algorithms handle.
Right.
Then it really shines, because in a textbook you just get this, a single if with a specific condition, and you don't really understand why it's needed, why it's there. It looks like it should be working fine without it. But with runnable test cases, you can just open them and run them and put a breakpoint inside of this if and hit it and see what happens.
Yeah, no, it seems very cool. Andrei, do you feel like with your exposure to all of these algorithms that you've kind of developed this superpower, that you know more algorithms than like most programmers do? And then do you find yourself using that superpower in like meetings or when you're talking in pair programming sessions? Do you say, well, we should use the knapsack algorithm for this one? And everybody's like, whoa, we don't know what that is.
Well, I guess I know more than developers know on average, but at the same time, I wouldn't consider myself, an algorithm developer because I don't do this professionally. And in the things I write, which are like web applications, CRUD, copy paste objects from web page to a database, they are not really used that often. So
Right.
I would say that I mostly use them for didactic purposes because I just like learning stuff. And there are people who know way more than I do, who actually work with them on a daily basis professionally.
Yeah, you've got to kind of be in that space where you have an opportunity to really use these. And I'm not sure where that space is these days. It kind of seems like, the frameworks are almost saying the algorithms are going to be our domain. We're going to get you, your hash set, for example, that sort of thing. We're going to get you your concurrent dictionary. We're going to take care of the kind of making sure we are very fast and solid, reliable. And then you're going to build on top of that. And when you're building on top of that, I don't know, it feels like either you're inventing your own thing from scratch and you make it work and it's fast enough and you're like, okay, that's my algorithm, right? Because we got to ship a product, right? Or you live in this very special space where you have to be very, very fast and you have enough, resources to be able to really focus on a problem and really get close to what you believe is the fastest, the most memory efficient, implementation, that sort of thing.
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Go ahead.
yeah. I would say that what you have described are two opposites, and life is somewhere in the middle. Because yes, you are right that we are not, solving it all from scratch and not writing like amazing new algorithms every day, but still knowledge of them allows you to know how to apply them. So, for example, if I want to, match items between two lists, then I can do this with two loops. But if I use something like a hash set or dictionary, I can make it a linear complexity instead of square, right? So
Yeah.
even though I haven't like written this dictionary from scratch, I still have to understand what operations on it are fast, what are slow, and how to use the thing. And
Yeah.
I personally think that you should know one level deeper than you work with. So, for example, if you use a dictionary, you should at least know how it's implemented under the hood.
That is such a great suggestion, by the way. I typically run at about one level higher, less deep than where I should be. I don't even know the level I'm working on. I'm almost up there, but I don't know where I am here. That's pretty just me. So, but I think that's a great suggestion. I love that, right? Because it does allow you to make decisions, right? What should I do here? Do I have boxing, unboxing? Am I dealing with, am I picking a bad algorithm or a bad class to represent my data, right? Should I be using something else? Great
Yeah, absolutely.
suggestion. Yeah, well, I'm a fool now compared to Andrii, I think.
So going through the website, looking at some of the algorithms that you have there, it is just basically the code to do this algorithm. There's no explanation of use cases for each algorithm or when you might pick, like doing a quick sort versus a merge sort, things along that line. So it seems like it's more like a companion to something, like you said, to your textbook or anything else that you're working on, that you just want to see a concrete example of something that you only have abstract information on.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I feel about it. Because again, writing textbooks is an art in itself, and well, I can do that. I haven't written a single textbook in my life, so I leave it up to people who can do it better than me.
And we'll have a link to the repo that's all on C Sharp, but it's also in other languages too, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a total of 28 languages in this
Wow.
organization, and well, they differ in popularity a lot. Like Python, for example, is much more popular than C Sharp, and
That's too bad.
Java is also more popular than C Sharp here. And actually, that's also one of the things that I wanted to bring up is, well, maybe you have any ideas why that is?
I think it's what students are studying or working with or learning. I think that your popularity is probably, I think the appeal is probably more to beginner programmers. Programmers are just learning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are just on point. So with Java, many universities give courses in Java, and that's why there are more people working with it. And it leads to some quite interesting observations. So for example, I will compare Java, C Sharp, Go, and Rust repositories because I have been working with them. I have been reviewing pull requests there. And what I can tell you is that in Rust and Go, if somebody open a pull request, it's almost certainly will be merged because it's just very high quality. And I think people who are working with those languages, or at least in those repositories, they are all really professionals employed, and they have a lot of experience under their belt. And for C Sharp, it's well, it's somewhere in the middle. So the quality is quite high, but at the same time, I see many students also working with it. And for Java, it's much more active, but at the same time, sometimes we can get pull requests which just don't have, for example, a Java extension in a file, so they are totally negligent about that. And another thing, actually, I have talked about seasonality, right? About exams and so on. And another factor here is Oktoberfest. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
This event? Yeah. So
Yeah.
well, for those who don't know, um, it's an annual event in October where people are encouraged to submit pull requests to open source projects, and they are then rewarded. They receive some gifts, but I think not last year, maybe. I'm not sure. And so basically, what this leads to an influx of people. Really, like we get probably 10 times or maybe 20 times more activity than usual, and we really just can't keep up with that. So in C Sharp, I can get like a pull request every 30 minutes, and I just can't review all of that. Yeah, that's the other side of this popularity, because usually it's not my main job. I have a work. I do this in my spare time, but during October, it just consumes so much time that I just unfortunately can't keep up, and I just can't answer everybody.
Well, we really appreciate you putting together something like this for the communities out there that are doing development and need to have these references for algorithms like that. So you might not hear it a lot, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that really appreciate the work that you're putting into it.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, people come and really thank us in our Discord from time to time because, well, they have used our algorithms to prepare for exams, and they got a good mark. So they are really happy about that. And I'm glad it really helps people. And I have even worked with, well, it's very uncommon, to be frank, but I have worked with people in my company who were really experienced developers, but they still wanted to, brush up on algorithms. Maybe they forgot something from their university years, and they still could use this repository to look up reference implementation.
Well, when I was in university, I learned Pascal, Fortran, and COBOL. So I don't know if the algorithms are still necessary for those, but that's because I'm old.
Sean tells a joke every week that ends with the same punchline.
Yeah. There was back then there was such a disconnect between what you learned in university and what the commercial businesses were looking for in developers. So, now that they're teaching things like, Python and Java, and some are using .NET is really great. So people, once they get out of university, have something they can actually put to good use in an actual job.
Yeah, I kind of get the feeling that's going to always be true, that there's going to always be a discrepancy between what you can learn at a university and what's actually needed for when you're on the job. Right? It just seems like, especially in this world, right, where technology is moving so fast that developers are, all constantly researching to stay on top of it. Right? If that's the world we live in, of course the universities are going to be maybe a little bit behind. Or of course the universities are going to say, oh, let's all teach this because this is easy to teach, right? And I've got my course already ready, or whatever the incentive is. Right? It is kind of interesting. But back to this, repository. Yeah, I agree with Sean. I think that it's an awesome, like almost beautiful creation that's sitting out here, right? It's got some really high quality information in it seems.
Yeah, we are trying to bridge the gap between, as you said, universities and, real life. And while personally, I don't think that it's a big problem that you don't get knowledge for work at university, because if you want to get knowledge for work, you can go work and get paid there instead of spending money on university. I think it's, more for different things, like for getting this really broad experience with many things which you wouldn't necessarily try at work. We're still trying to, bridge the gap, because people study at universities and they need to be prepared for work, or just, if not for work, just for contribution to open source. And from my experience, I have seen that many people don't really know about open source. So because it's not taught anywhere, there is no course at university which is called open source development. And most people at work also work with closed source. So that's why I'm so passionate about this project, is that it brings more people to open source, basically.
Yeah, I think anytime that somebody puts in this many hours to put together something for the community that's, open source, and they're not getting paid for, you can really feel that passion that they have to have in order to, feel like just internally to themselves that it was worth it. So is there anything else that you wanted to cover before we move on to picks and wrap up?
Well, I think we've had a great discussion, and I think we have covered everything.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think we've had a great discussion too. And hopefully you get some, more contributions of people helping out with maybe some of these pull requests and things like that. So especially this October, you're not totally overwhelmed. That would be great for the community to help out there.
Yeah, and actually, one more thing for people who are thinking about contributing, you don't necessarily have to add a new algorithm. There are a lot of other things to do. Like, for example, sometimes our workflows break and they need to be fixed. You can do that. Sometimes a new version of .NET comes out and we need to update to it. And we are also trying not to do this by ourselves, but to open issues for people to pick this up, because it's really a great opportunity to get started.
Okay,
I
great.
love it. I love it.
All right. With that said, let's go ahead and move on to picks. Mark, you want to start us off with your pick?
Yeah, I actually have what I think is a good one for you kids this time. That I really, really am enjoying. It's Dark on Netflix. It's a German sci-fi kind of thriller, and if you don't speak German, you're going to want to have subtitles on in whatever language you speak. Keep the original German vocals because the actors are great. The casting is over the top. Really, really good in this series. I, by the way, tried starting Dark because Netflix recommended it to me 2 times before this last time, and both times, one of the times I had like English voices over, so I could understand, and it would be easy. My brain didn't have to read, and didn't work because the performances weren't great. And one of the other times didn't get through it, but it was again recommended to me. I got into it, and it's three seasons, and I think I've finished the first season, and I'm just binging it, episode after episode, really liking it. If you're like me and you like if you like sci-fi and you like surreal, mind-bending kinds of things, this is, I think, definitely a good pick for you.
All right. I had German in college, but I'm old, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah, no, you got great performances. You got what seems like a really good story, some mind-bending stuff, and it's like, it also is getting a little intense, it seems. It's kind of like a slow crank of the pressure right across these episodes of the season. It's just building. So, yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. My pick this week is also a Netflix show, but it's not something that's fiction like yours, things like that. It's a show called Blown Away.
Right.
Season 4 just came out.
Yes,
So,
it's very good.
Yeah, my wife loves to watch it, so it's good for all members of the family if you like glass. So Blown Away, they're talking about glass blowing. So
also, I will say that their production value. Also, they had the first couple seasons they had a host that made me cringe every time I watched this guy. He seemed like somebody who just showed up and got on camera with no qualifications. They seem to have fixed this in season 4, and their production value and editing is so much higher than in previous seasons. I almost would say jump into season 4 instead of seeing the earlier ones. But yeah, it's a great show. Our family loves that show.
yeah, and then there was the holiday special too. So I don't know if you caught that one.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so that was maybe 2 years ago or something like that. So there was a Blown Away holiday edition doing like Christmas stuff and things like that. So try to find that. But yeah, that's what my wife and I are watching this weekend. So check it out, Blown Away on Netflix. All right, Andrii, do you have a pick for us?
Yeah, absolutely, but it's very, very different from yours.
Okay.
So from me, it's a book, Software Architecture in Practice, and I have read it relatively recently, and it's very it's a really awesome book. I can totally recommend it to everybody. It's about software architecture and qualities of programs, which we don't usually think about. So today we have talked about algorithms and data structures, but there are also qualities of programs like maintainability, how readable is it, and how easy it is to split it up so that many people can work on it, and so on. So we don't usually think about that. That's why I wanted to recommend it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Andrii.
Yep. If our listeners have questions and want to reach out and get in touch with us, let us have suggestions or just feedback. They can find me on all the platforms. I am at .NET Superhero.
That guy right there.
Yeah. It's a podcast, Mark. They can't see where you're pointing.
I'm pointing right there. They can see it. I'm pointing right at it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you on the next episode of Adventures in .NET.